This might be the greatest unfinished song of all time. Bob Dylan called it the greatest song ever written. But it's on this record, and we all know the song, so how can it be unfinished? Well, actually, it's a surprise Glen Campbell was even singing it to begin with. It was the spring of 1968, and Glen Campbell had made an unexpected career turn, having gone from session musician into country singer. Before this, he was best known as being part of the Wrecking Crew, a group of some of the best session musicians in LA who played on many well-known records of the time. Glen played guitar with Frank Sinatra, Elvis Presley, and even toured with the Beach Boys, filling in for Brian Wilson.
And then all of a sudden he's a singing star. Well, he always could sing. We used to kid him about, oh, he's standing up and singing now, he's going to be a big star. But he became a big star.
I mixed actually the first record, that record that he made for Capitol. I mixed that record. And it was like a really surprise to see him come in and say, I'm singing on this record.
And it worked. By the late 60s, he was probably the biggest country singer in the world. He'd had two massive hit songs, Gentle on My Mind and By the Time I Get to Phoenix, but he wasn't a songwriter. He didn't write these songs. And in 1968, when he was searching for another big hit, he had a problem. He was working on a new album and was not only short of songs for the album, but none of them would be a hit single. So he called up Jimmy Webb, the songwriter who had written By the Time I Get to Phoenix, hoping he could do it again.
They called me and said, can you write us a song about a town, Glenn said. I said, well, I'm not sure I want to write a song about a town right now. I think I've overdone that. He said, well, can you do something geographical?
Reluctantly, Jimmy agreed to give it a go. The inspiration came from a memory he had of driving through the Oklahoma Panhandle, an area of North America filled with endless plains and flatlands. The road stretches out into the distance endlessly, and lining each of these roads is a network of telephone cables. Jimmy remembers driving out in the open flatlands and in the distance seeing someone working on top of one of the telephone lines. As he drove closer, he saw that he was on the phone, and he began to imagine who he was talking to and what he thought about all day, working on the lines. So he sits down at his piano and he pairs this lyrical idea with one of the most beautiful chord progressions ever written. And that's all there is. One verse of music with two verses of lyrics.
I called them up and I said, I've got a song over here. I said, but I don't really think it's finished. And they said, well, send it over anyway.
So just a couple of hours after the phone call asking for a song, Jimmy sent over his idea. It's not finished, there's no chorus, no bridge, no third verse, and he tells Glen that if you like the idea, let me know and I'll finish it. But Jimmy never hears back, and so he never does finish it. But little does he know that Glen heads straight to the studio and records that initial idea. The basic track of vocal, guitar, bass and drums was recorded in May 1968. Glen, of course, is singing and playing the guitar, and his friends from the Wrecking Crew helped to provide the other instruments. Because the song wasn't fully written, and of course no one had recorded it before, it required some arranging, and it was Carol Kaye who comes up with the opening bass line.
Don't think it had any part written.
She came up with da-da-da-da-da, blah, you know. She said, how about this for a kickoff on Wichita Lineman? And she came up with that.
I can actually take out the orchestral overdub and show you what the initial recording would have sounded like with just the rhythm track.
I am a lineman for the county.
They record the two verses of lyrics that Jimmy sent over, and then they're at the end of Jimmy's idea. So what do they decide to do? Play one more verse, but the first half of the melody is a guitar solo. What I love about this is that there were so many options. They could have asked Jimmy to write a third verse or a bridge, or at the very least invent some new instrumental idea for the guitar. But they keep it so simple. They just play the same melody on the guitar. And yet if you try and imagine them using any of these other ideas, it's hard to imagine the song being any better. Now this is just the basic rhythm track, no orchestra or anything else. That will all come later. Because not long after this, Jimmy and Glen cross paths again.
A couple of weeks later, I ran into him somewhere, and I said, so I guess you guys didn't like that song. He said, oh, we cut that. I said, well, it wasn't done. And he said, well, it's done now.
But Jimmy's contribution wasn't done yet, because Jimmy introduced Glen to a Gould Brownson organ which he had at home. The organ was able to produce this psychedelic whistle sound, which was used to evoke the sound of the wires that the lineman might hear.
I went over and I turned on this ring-a-ding thing, and I held down 2 notes here, and it went... He said, wow. He said, that's cool. I said, yeah, it sounds like a satellite or a... Yeah. He said, that's cool. He said, let's put it on the record.
So as well as an orchestral overdub, Jimmy also played the organ on the final song. It's a very subtle effect on the final record, but if I play just the orchestral overdub and the organ, you'll be able to hear just how great it sounds. It was clear that this song was going to be more than just the commercial hit that Glen had been looking for, but also in fact something truly beautiful.
Wichita Lineman. When I heard it, I cried. When I was on the way home, I'd see all the electrical wires and all the telephone poles. It made me cry, yeah.
But there's one more idea that symbolizes just how magical a songwriting process like this can be. Perhaps the most famous lyric from this song is the line, "I need you more than want you, and I want you for all time." But years later, Jimmy Webb spoke of how if he spent more time thinking it over, he probably would have changed it.
And one of the things that I found was that in Wichita Lineman, there's a line that goes like this, "And I need you more than want you, and I want you for all time. And the Wichita Lineman is still on the line. 100,000 people have walked up to me and said, you know the greatest line you ever wrote? I need you more than want you, and I want you for all time." Had I known what I was doing, I wouldn't have written that line. I would have found a way to make it rhyme. It was only years later that I became aware of what a songwriter was even supposed to do.
I've made videos about the songwriting process of so many songs, and it never fails to amaze me that if you want to write the greatest song ever written, don't overthink it. Or in this case, you don't even need to finish it. Wichita Lineman was released on the same day that I'm releasing this video, and my friend David Bennett has also just released a video speaking in depth about the music theory behind this song. So go check out his video to learn more.